there's always competition from more established establishments. Like there's a chain restaurant, there's chain lodges, there's chain hotels. But now, as a beginner, how do you remain unique and relevant and sustainable while facing that kind of competition?
Most independent restaurants, for instance, have the owners in the business. They are the ones running it and all. That personalized touch is everything. How you talk to them, how you remember the small events, the memories, gifting them, receiving gifts. You know, it becomes like a small home away from home feel. And that's how we survive.
Yes. Welcome to the Millionaire Mind. My name is Turife. Now, I have realized or noticed that anytime people are having very good conversations about women in business, it's always the same faces on rotation. We're even asking, are you guys paid to just appear on TV? But the focus of this show is highlighting women in business. And 9 times out of 10, I might bring somebody you don't really know. And that's the purpose of the show. Highlighting people who are making moves, who are doing great things, and just haven't had the platform to showcase who they are. And my guest today is a hospitality consultant, and she'll introduce herself. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
So please introduce yourself and what you do.
Okay, so my name is Anhari Saji, and I've been a hospitality consultant for a few years now. I've been in the industry for almost like 17 years now, and restaurant, hotels are my passion. I started by working in hotels, and then went to working in restaurants as manager. And then from there, God blessed me, and I opened my own restaurant called Coffee Casa. So it's still running 5 years on now. And then I realized that there's so much knowledge not out there. There's so many people who don't know how to start a restaurant, who don't know the nitty-gritty details that go into making a restaurant successful. And I'm saying, you know what, I'm going to do restaurant consultancy as a full-blown career. And the journey has been amazing. There is so much involved, and I just wish to help people realize a dream that owning a restaurant, working in a hotel, it's not as people say long hours, and you know, but there's so much fun involved. There's so much fun, there's so much knowledge, and every day it's so new, it's so dynamic, and that's what I'm putting out there today.
Awesome. And before we actually get into the meat of the story, what exactly is hospitality consultancy? Because I feel like it covers a broad spectrum of tasks and things, but how best would you describe it?
It starts from hiring the staff, recruiting, it comes to menu development, and it's actually involving a lot of fields, even spas can be part of hospitality, because there's restaurants, there are hotels, there are lodges, there are camps, anything that you have to give service to a customer, it's hospitality. So I'm mostly focused on hotels and restaurants. I think that's my most passionate industry. And we take care now, like as a hospitality consultant, I come in and take care of all your issues regarding designing of the menus, the interior, is what you're selling making money or not, you know, is your systems, you have standard operating systems or not, and how you can effectively make the most profit out of every venture. You know, it's so deep, it involves so many levels of the departments, and so that's where I come in, check in, everything is okay, running smoothly or not, but also starting up. Because starting up is a whole different ball game to something that's already running and going on.
Awesome. And I think when people are having financial advice and wondering what to invest in, going into the restaurant business is most of the time it's a bit risky, if we're being honest, because we have seen stories of restaurants that have very short shelf life. To some point we're even thinking, is it sustainable? But you have been in the industry for close to 17 years, so you are, you know, a testimony of how good things can be. So when you're doing a consultancy, especially someone who wants to invest into the business, what advice do you give them to make sure that they remain in the business for a long time while still maintaining the quality of service?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question because I've also faced the ups and downs. I've seen restaurants that closed down, friends, and I think the main thing is consistency. The quality that, like the way you say, the quality of food, the consistency is what's going to retain customers, because the moment you open a restaurant up, or we are going to use the restaurant as the example right now. If you open a restaurant up and you know that you're creating a menu with a few dishes, and that you're going to pick 3 dishes that are going to bring you, no matter where in the world, someone needs to know about these 3 dishes, and it has to be consistent. So in this case, I feel like most people tend to forget that. They tend to go to the decor, which is important part of it. But your food,
aesthetic look and everything,
but food is what's going to bring people in, no matter what. So, and as to get for the longevity of it, I would say that backup finances. It's a dream, yes, to open a restaurant, but make sure you have enough funding. Because most people start off, oh, I have, let's say, 500,000, and I'll just start it off, and then when we make money, we will increase
back into the business.
No, have to have 6 months to 1 year working capital right there, because that will ensure you have hit the benchmark of 6 months, and now you're going to your 3 years and your 5 years and your 10 years. So having the finances prepared beforehand
is very important.
It's very important.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And speaking of aesthetics and the exterior look and the interior, just pretty much the decorating, we've seen a lot of restaurants pop up, and they're very Instagrammable and they're very internety. They have a pull for the younger crowd because it's very aesthetically pleasing. But at the same time, what do you as the consultant take into consideration when you're coming up with ideas for restaurants in this day and age?
As a consultant, I know that aesthetics plays an important role, because especially in Kenya, everyone wants to become an influencer. For some reason, it's become the new trend. And it's good. I mean, you can monetize that, you had your part-time job. So, of course, aesthetics play an important role, but effective aesthetics. Sometimes you'll see many restaurants with this fake plants and flowers everywhere. You know, maintaining those is really cumbersome.
True.
They ensure they look like real and clean at all times. There's extra costs involved in that. So I would always suggest to get an interior designer on board. You know, first, don't do DIY. Get an interior designer, get a consultant on board. Make sure that they're giving you there's something that lasts for long. Your vision is 5 years, 10 years, or more. So have something that you don't have to keep on maintaining, keep on upgrading, keep on replacing, you know. So that plays an important role. And when it comes to just people, the different types of aesthetics, having real nature-made stuff has so much more impact. It's eco-friendly as well. And people appreciate. We have so much greenery around. No one, like, we have to have that in our restaurants or homes or anything you're designing, basically.
Are you, as a consultant now, are you involved in the marketing and branding of the business?
Absolutely. And that's actually the main thing that I'm most passionate about, because I understand that when you have a great brand, it sells for itself. You look at McDonald's, like it's a M. You see a yellow M somewhere, you know it's McDonald's. So creating something like that for yourself is so important. Like just having initials. Brand management is something that not many people take too seriously. They will just come up, oh, I like this name. Don't just like it. Go deep into the name. Is it something that you will always have people say it easily on your tongue, like, you know? And so I feel like the marketing aspect, I'm there. I have to guide on how which social media channels are good, you know. brand, what kind of logo, slogan, everything matters in creating your restaurant brand. Yeah.
And when it comes to now profitability for the business, I feel like for most restaurants, there's usually the conflict of, I want to provide a really good service, I want to provide really good food, I want to be in a very good location and environment, but at the same time, I want to be very affordable for anyone who visits, and at the same time still make a profit out of all of this. So you as a consultant, when you come into such a business, how are you able to factor in all of these things and still make a profit out of it?
It's always the most difficult. The main thing is the location and where you are, because that will determine everything, your rent. Because I think the rent is a killer in any business.
Yeah.
So just having the location sorted out, where you are at, and then from there the rest is easy peasy. Then when you say about service, training is what's needed. Most people don't train their hospitality staff, which is really important. Refresher courses, you know, so all those expenses put into mind. The higher skill you have, the more you will retain your customers, because your skilled workers will know what your customer likes all the time. They want the usual, they know their name, you know. These small things really impact in retaining customers, and in turn increase profitability, because they will want to choose you to do their birthday parties, their anniversaries, their any event,
You
and
always want
word
them to
of
come
mouth.
back.
Yeah, so all this I do take into account. We all have like a sit down and put everything together, and then say, okay, how can we price this, because the economy is suffering right now, and we need people to come in and to enjoy quality food, good service, an amazing ambience, and be able to go back feeling value for money, you know, that they've spent properly. Yeah.
And when it comes to staff training, how are you able to maintain the staff being friendly but at the same time being professional? Because I had a very interesting experience yesterday where I went for dinner somewhere, and the wait staff kept referring to us as my dear, would you like this, my dear, would you like that? And it kind of rubbed me off the wrong way, because I'm like, I understand where you're coming from. I know maybe you're trying to, you know, get to the customer and be friendly, but I didn't feel like that was professional. So what would you say are some of maybe the basic things that you do while training the staff?
Having checklist and standard operating procedures. There is a card that for instance, how to greet a customer. There's an entire checklist that good morning, good evening, good afternoon. And if you know the customer's name, say the name, Miss, Mr., you know, that keeps the professional level.
Yes.
And after that, there are certain sentences that always have to be said, followed up. So that's how we keep the professional standards checklist. That's what every, I think, consultant needs to provide to whoever they're consulting with.
And since you're here, I would actually like you to also answer a question that a lot of us actually encounter in mostly restaurants. You know, halfway through your meal, you are stuffed, you know, you're really enjoying your food, but that's when the waitress or the wait staff comes in to ask, is the service good, is the food good? And I'm torn between answering you and chewing my food. Is that a thing actually? Is it something that trained to do?
Yes, it's actually called 2 minutes of service. Yeah, so but it should be 2 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah, because you time your guest. They've taken a couple of bites. They should be comfortable enough to know that the food is good. Is it lacking something? Is it raw? Is it, you know, something of that sort? Then that's the time they go and approach the customer and ask. But not like if you're seeing they're halfway through or almost finishing and then going, it beats the purpose. The whole idea of 2 minutes of service is to ensure that the customer is agreeable with what they've been presented with at that point. Yeah.
And in this day and age, especially how internet savvy everyone is, everyone has access to the internet. We have people who will have opinions at the end of the day, and we have online reviews, and some can be very good, some are very scathing, and you're wondering, did we have the same experience, you know? And some might actually even be false. So how, as a restaurant or as a business, especially in the hospitality industry, how do you deal with online reviews, whether positive or negative?
First thing, they must be responded, but be it negative or positive, they have to be responded. The customer must know that they have been acknowledged, because most of that also you lose your customer like that. I feel like there's always a professional way of answering things, not robot like a bot responding, but the more personal touch there is, you know, the first thing I would, whether it's a review, positive or negative, it has to pass through management. They have to read it. They have to understand it. If there's something that went wrong with, let's say, with a waiter, the waiter has to be called, and there is an internal discussion on what happened, and then responded correctly, and always compensated. If it's something that's like, you want the customer is king. Customer is always right. Yeah. And we cannot function without them. So this is something that I feel most restaurants don't take it too seriously. They always, it's always good to blame, you know, which shouldn't be the case. Like I try to emphasize that, no, we put proper standards, ensure all the reviews are responded and properly, professionally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And all of us are now bouncing back from the pandemic. It was a difficult time for everyone across all industries. There are few restaurants and few hotels and lodges that that managed to stay afloat, and mostly people who were providing delivery service. But you know, the rest were kind of went under. But now we're getting to the new normal. We're trying to figure out what works for us right now. So would you say there's been a difference between pre-COVID and post-COVID, and how is the industry coping right now?
There's a huge difference. I think people became very savvy. Yeah, they became very, like I would say, hustlers in the biggest way possible. Because, like for instance, in my own restaurant, the only way I could survive was I had to start creating new things, like chutneys, jams, different merchandise in which I could sell as part of the delivery service as well. And the number one thing is to have a very good delivery service. I mean, the Bolt, you know, we have Glovo, we have Uber Eats, all these guys have been phenomenal to our industry. Ensuring that we are partnered with them, having our own online delivery system, having a proper website. We had to start thinking differently, absolutely. Trying to get house catering done, you know, using we started providing like our chefs to go cook at someone's house, you know, in a safe, hygienic environment. So yes, definitely. I mean, I think it opened our minds to so much possibility, different possibilities, and there's still so much anyone can do to increase their income and make profits. Yeah.
You had mentioned earlier that for the longest time you had worked in management. So what prompted the move for you to start your own restaurant?
I think I find myself as a dream worker. I've always wanted to own something. It was a tea shop, but the opportunity came as a coffee shop. And I was like, yes, I don't want to say no to this. And I took that on. And I realized that it is 10 times more demanding than you being a manager of a restaurant.
Yes.
I found myself as a cleaner. I found myself as a store, accounts, marketing, handling everything, plus now the city. At least as a manager, I could say to the city council guys, I'm not the owner, you know. But now, but now I had to deal with all this, and that's when I came to realize that doing business in Kenya requires tough skills, like tough skin. And women especially face a lot of discrimination, I feel. Especially, I went through a very tough time, but it's how you carry yourself. and how you persevere and push through. Yeah.
And what are some of the challenges you'd say that you encountered, especially as a woman, specifically as a woman in business?
Having male staff not listening to you was a bit of a challenge. I think everyone I had were head of departments were male, and just pushing across that you need this needs to be done wasn't taken so seriously until now. You have to find a way of sitting them down and telling them this is how it's gonna be, you know. So, and also dealing with legal, like at the banks, and you know, as a woman, I felt I was easily intimidated, you know, they could intimidate me easily. Yeah. So I guess pushing through, I learned a lot in this journey, and I am grateful for it either way. Yeah.
When it comes to small businesses, or you know, businesses that are starting up, there's always competition from more established establishments. Like there's a chain restaurant, there's chain lodges, there's chain hotels. But now, as a beginner, how do you remain unique and relevant and sustainable while facing that kind of competition?
As an independent, when you have your Javas and art cafes around you, it does get difficult. But that brand, your brand image is what's going to save you. How you create your few dishes, a menu that's curated and tailored for personalized guests, because you know what your customers want. And every time, most independent restaurants, for instance, have the owners in the business. They are the ones running it, and all that personalized touch is everything. How you talk to them, how you remember the small events, the memories, gifting them, receiving gifts. You know, it becomes like a small home away from home feel, and that's how we survive.
Yes.
And it's important that that's the only way you can, because you're going, if you go to Art Cafe Java, for instance, they've done something amazing, you know, and they're commercialized and everywhere, but you want something a bit more homely. That's where
a bit more intimate to your customer,
yeah. And that's where, you know, how you create your brand plays an important role.
Okay, you have really portrayed a very positive look, especially when it comes to the hospitality industry, because once that is mentioned, all we think about is, you had mentioned, long hours, it's a tedious job, it's exhausting and everything, but you have really portrayed the positivity, the positive side of it. What would you tell somebody who's now starting out, or who'd like to start out right now?
First, have the passion. Like, this is something that has to come from inside.
It's not a money grab.
Yeah. You want to make someone smile. Are you able to take someone's criticism? Are you able, if someone is shouting on your face, are you able to keep calm? Like, those qualities is what's going to make you and your business thrive most. Because you can say, yeah, have a manager and have your staff run the show for you. That's possible, and you can still make the money. But you need to have a really solid desire to work there, to own it, to feel it. So first thing is your personality and how you want to run the show and how confident you are in this. Second, I feel like, take the leap of faith. I mean, this restaurant industry has a lot of money. If done correctly, it's mind-blowing the amount of profits you can make. And also, you're also helping people, because you know the food-wise, like for instance, charity, you know, you can feed people the street. There's so much to give, and that, I think the society needs that. You know, lots of people, because food is so personal. Food is love. So having that passion is very important for anyone wanting to start out, and also have your funds backed up.
Yes, funds are the most important part of the equation.
Yeah, if you want to survive, make sure you always have your 6 months to 1 year working capital there, and you will not worry about anything else.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you've actually said something that's actually stuck out to me. that when you trust other people with your vision and when you trust them to execute your vision the way you want it to be, you get a bit frustrated because at the end of the day you have to be executing everything.
Yes.
So being in the hospitality industry is not for the faint of heart.
No, no.
But thank you so much for coming
Thank
over
you.
and having this conversation with us. If somebody wants to reach out to you with help with hospitality consulting, where can they get you?
I'm mostly active on LinkedIn as Anhari Saji and on Instagram as well. Anhari Saji, yes.
Thank you so
thank
much for
you.
joining us. We really had fun.
Yes.
You really portrayed a different side of the hospitality industry, and that's
Yes.
very refreshing. As always, if you would like to chime into the conversation, the number is 0770-729-366. My name is Turife, and I will see you next week.